Okay, hi everyone. I'm Andalay Visser. My student number is 150073, and today I'm going to be presenting my game, Masweeties. So let's start with the basic concept. Now, Masweeties is a game where a horde of sugar-crazed kindergartners have taken over the school, and it's up to a handful of talented students to defeat them using delicious candies and some tasty robotics. It's fast-paced and tactical with tasty visuals that simply pop off the screen. Now, the reason why I chose Masweeties instead of My is because My is pronounced like Ma in some varieties of English. It's also popular in LOL speak, and the kind of text you're likely to see in a meme. And finally, it is easier to pronounce, something a kindergartner might do. Now, my genre is adventure, top-down, survival shooter, and also cooperative multiplayer. And the key selling points of this game is a bright and appealing visual style with colorful characters and ammunition that consists of sweets such as lollipops, gumdrops, and jelly beans. There's also a multiplayer mode. Players can share this gaming experience with other players in an amazing co-op option. This game is connected by the simple pleasure that players derive from interacting with other players. Studies have also proven that cooperative multiplayers are a lot more entertaining. Furthermore, Masweeties features a variety of kindergartners with unique behavioral patterns and abilities. These enemies can also appear suddenly and unexpectedly. In short, it is fast-paced and tactical. Now, for my visual references, I was looking at bright and quirky, with the type of anime style and retro weapons. Some of the references I was looking at is Sugar Rush from a well-known film, Wreck-It Ralph, and Candy Crush, which we all know well. Also games like No Zombies Allowed, and then just some basic artwork that inspired me. Okay, now the game references. The game is similar to games such as Relic Hunter Zero, who both share in the fast yet tactical approach of top-down shooters. It shares in a small number of mechanics from the game Overlord Raising Hell, especially in the final boss battles mechanics, where the boss with all his immense bulk will roll around the scene in an effort to crush the player, literally and figuratively speaking. Lastly, Yandere Simulator has also left its undisputable mark on the game with its school environment. Now, for market infiltration, even though Masweeties might be categorized in the same gameplay bucket, the reason why customers would choose it over any other game is due to a variety of factors. Firstly, being an attractive design, it's a free-to-play model, includes levels with variation, and being able to let others join in the fun with the special cooperative multiplayer. Now, my target market is casual gamers who like fast-paced and tactical games. The game will be relatively easygoing, having a fair level of difficulty so that even your average soccer mom could play it. Why? The reason for this is that casual games require no special skills to play, and it aims at a mass audience, leaving no one feeling left out, a common characteristic among many games today. Now, for development, I'm using Unity, Blender, 3D Code, Substance Painter, Cinema 4D, and Adobe Suite, just to name a few. And the limitations, bearing in mind the development of the game, will mostly be time and resources. The project will have to be created within a year's time by an individual who will have to take all the duties vital in designing a game, this being me. Okay, now my target platform, I was thinking of WebGL Build or PC. Now the reason for this is due to the accessibility of browser games and no required client software to be installed, apart from maybe a browser plugin, and also the fact that web builds are played more frequently because it can be played on multiple different devices. And then, however, if the player should prefer PC build, there will also be a downloadable option available. Now, for my monetization model, I have these two core emotions that will drive the player to play this game. First of all is hunger or gluttony, where every human has a basic primitive instinct which regulates the player's decision-making. Our love for overly sugary foods, for example, is thanks in large part to our primal initiative to eat this way so as to avoid starvation. We indulge in our instincts, and there is nothing more satisfying than watching succulent candies whizzing by in rows of striking colors. Second is fight. Aggression is really a useful evolutionary role that has helped humans to defend territory, offspring, or a mate. In fact, humans crave violence much the same as they crave food. Masweeties is no different. The game offers a means to release tension without overly rough displays of violence, yet this doesn't take away from the fun. Now, some engagement loops, which will keep the players coming back for more, is the core loop of Masweeties, which is relatively straightforward. The player has to clear out classrooms full of kindergartners, survive, avoid and evade, as well as gather candy to use as ammunition. Also, once a toddler is defeated, they will give an experience drop. Experience is not only a resource used to level up the character's perks, but can also be used as in-game currency to purchase later necessities, such as weapons, health packs, and more candy. Every level will have certain guns available to the player. If the player wishes to gain permanent access to a weapon, they can purchase it with the experience points they have gained. There will also be an endless mode, which can be unlocked upon completing the adventure mode. Endless mode allows the player a game with an endless flow of strategically generated enemies. It has one basic scoring system, and the player can play as long as they can before being overwhelmed by the horde. This is also an easy means to quickly acquire experience to purchase other goodies. Now for the product catalog, the only goods that will be sold will be available in Indiegogo as perks. Customers can contribute to the campaign to earn special perks such as their very own playable character that resembles themselves, or having themselves as an NPC in the game, or finally a special limited edition weapon. Now for marketing, the first step would to be establish the game's presence on Facebook so people can find out about the game and connect with the team. It's also a great way to start a growing community of people who are passionate about the game. Connecting with fans is essential, and any humble body of admirers more often than not starts off with family and close friends. More than 1 billion people use Facebook every day, so the small circle of fans can quickly grow into a colossal fan base. The next step would be business blogging, which is a tactic used to get your game more online visibility. Blogging helps you to get discovered via social media, and it helps to drive traffic to your website and or Facebook page. Every time you write a blog post, you're creating content that people can share on social networks like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Lastly would be an Indiegogo campaign. This is a great way to build up an audience, collect feedback, and promote the game with this complete marketing hub. This would help to adjust the game on the fly for maximum impact when it eventually will be released. Finally, it makes for a great crowdfunding campaign where you can communicate with contributors in real time via Indiegogo. This can earn you a little cash that can be used to improve the game as well. Now the player incentives. Why would the players want to buy this game? Now most players like starting in medias res, which is a Latin expression that means in the action. Players like to get right into the game. They also do not enjoy being forced into a long and boring game tutorial. Therefore, there will be no prolonged game intro or a particularly tedious tutorial. Instead, the player will be flung straight into the action and given the choice to opt out of the tutorial if they wish to. Now, although players might like skill progression, a game can never truly have good player retention without interesting rewards. Therefore, there will be a solid, measurable series of rewards throughout the game. Now, most people nowadays cannot afford a big time investment in games with their busy schedules. The game will, as a result, not take too long to complete and offer some entertaining content early on in the game with shorter game sessions. If the game offers an unfair or punishing first experience, players are more likely to leave. Thus, there will be a steady rise in difficulty, and it will be fair at all times. The average human attention span has fallen since the mobile revolution began. That is why game sessions and or levels will be made shorter so as not to lose focus or cause boredom. Now, why would they want to continue playing the game? Furthermore, because of this short attention span and the countless of fresh things gracing the market, the game needs to be kept alive. Updates give players a reason to come back for more. If updates are slow, players might uninstall the game or forget to check it later again. Every 1 to 3 months is key to staying in the mind of the users. Similarly, when game controls, mechanics, and rules sink in, players tend to get bored and leave. There will constantly be new challenges, new achievements, new weapons to unlock, character perks, and so on. Now for the modular design, some elements that can be easily reused in other projects include, but are not limited to, the health manager, which can be used again and again, as the bulk of games call for health systems. Another element that can be used again is the shield that poses as a form of protection for a limited amount of time and regenerates after a certain amount of time. Now, for my playtesting methodology, I created a Google form where I tested the players' responses to the game. So far, only 7 people have tested the game. But from this, I have gathered, with user feedback, upon receiving it, it has been easier to set up some performance goals. Despite the many stumbling blocks altogether, the majority of the game testers approved of the responsive controls, granted that the objectives of the game were more or less clear, and they all agreed that they would indeed play the game again. To summarize, the undesirables of the game include enemy movement that is not presented realistically enough. Ultimately, the game sessions feel too long, leading to cases of boredom. And finally, the average amount of players agree that the game didn't pose enough of a challenge. In conclusion, in order to better the game, more lifelike AI movement is required, shorter game sessions, and finally a fair level of difficulty that isn't too laid back. And here are just some of the responses I got. Now, as you can see, everyone was quite happy with the game so far. Now, for estimated cost, I used PayScale, which has the most detailed and up-to-date salary profiles in the world. I was able to receive a series of reports that show how my possible salary compares to other people with similar education, skills, and work experience to my own. The average entry-level video game designer with at least 2 years of experience in the field, also taking into account age, gender, location, skills, and other factors, earns an average of 6 million rand annually, which is more or less 50,000 rand a month. However, when also taking into consideration the point that the entire project is run by a single individual who plays the role of the whole kit and caboodle required in making a game, then the necessary compensation needs to be reevaluated. Since the individual has to undertake a wide range of tasks, it stands to reason that the pay has to be raised to compensate for this. This raises the bar to an annual salary of approximately 1.1 million rand, which is more or less 90,000 rand a month. Now that's a lot of money. It does sound crazy, but for this game as a starter, I would obviously not want to charge that much. I also use MindMeister to schedule my tasks, since it is easy to assign tasks to collaborators, set priorities, add due dates, and indicate progress using a simple task widget, such as this. Here I have set up my schedule, with the next task, of course, being the game project presentation, which I'm doing now, and the game design document. And that's my game.